The Heir's Reckoning. Part 3, The Board Meeting. The week following the wedding passed in a strange dance of normalcy and tension. Sophia moved into the penthouse she and Marcus had purchased together, unpacked boxes side by side with her new husband, and played the role of newlywed with practiced perfection. But at night, while Marcus slept beside her, she stayed awake planning, calculating, preparing for war. She knew he was watching her, waiting for an opportunity. Twice she'd caught him crushing sleeping pills into her nighttime tea. She'd pretended to drink it, then poured it down the bathroom sink when he wasn't looking. Whatever they were planning, they needed her unconscious or incapacitated first. That told her something important: they still needed the board meeting to happen. They needed the legal transfer of power before they could eliminate her, which meant she still had leverage. The morning of the board meeting, Sophia dressed with particular care. A tailored black Armani suit that screamed power, her hair pulled back in a sleek chinon, minimal jewelry except for her wedding ring, and the jade pendant her grandmother had given her, a symbol of the Chen family legacy. Marcus watched her get ready with barely concealed agitation. "Are you sure you need to go to this?" he asked for the third time. "We could still catch a flight to the Maldives tonight. The ocean, the sunset, just the two of us." "Just the two of us and whatever accident you have planned," Sophia thought. After the meeting, she promised with a smile, "I want to make sure everything's in order before we leave." His jaw tightened, but he nodded. "Of course, I'll drive you. Actually, David is picking me up. He wanted to brief me on some legal matters before we go in." That was true, though the briefing had nothing to do with routine business. David had spent the week gathering evidence, and what he'd found was damning enough to bury them all, if Sophia played her cards right. Marcus' eyes flashed with something dark. "David Park has been spending a lot of time with you lately." "He's my legal counsel," Sophia said lightly. "It's literally his job." "I just think," Marcus started, then seemed to reconsider. "Never mind. I'll see you at the office." He kissed her goodbye, and Sophia tasted the bitterness of his cologne mixed with barely suppressed fury. Good. Let him be off balance. Angry people made mistakes. David's car was waiting downstairs, and the moment Sophia slid into the back seat, his expression turned grim. "I have everything," he said, handing her a tablet. "Bank records, email exchanges, recorded phone calls. It's all here." Sophia scrolled through the evidence, her heart racing despite her outward calm. There it was, proof of the conspiracy in black and white. Marcus had been embezzling from Sterling Corp for 2 years, using shell companies to hide the money. The company wasn't just struggling, it was bankrupt. The merger with Chen Industries wasn't a partnership, it was a lifeline. But more damning were the emails between Marcus, Victoria, and James. Plans for the board meeting. Discussions about removing her after the honeymoon. References to the accident that would make Marcus a grieving widower and new CEO. They'd been sloppy, arrogant. They'd never considered the possibility of getting caught because they'd never imagined she'd fight back. "How did you get the recordings?" Sophia asked. David's smile was thin. "Let's just say your father and I have been concerned for a while. We placed some insurance policies." "Does he know about all of this?" "Not yet. I wanted to bring it to you first." Sophia nodded slowly. In her previous life, her parents had discovered the truth after her death. Her mother had never recovered from the guilt of not pushing harder to stop the wedding. Her father had spent years trying to reclaim the company, only to die of a heart attack brought on by stress. Not this time. This time, she'd save them too. The Chen Industries headquarters building rose 47 stories into the Shanghai skyline, a monument of glass and steel that her grandfather had built from nothing. Sophia had grown up playing in these halls, had shadowed her father through these offices, had dreamed of leading this company into the future. They'd tried to take it from her. They'd killed her for it. She was about to teach them what happened when you underestimated a Chen. The boardroom was on the top floor, offering a panoramic view of the city. When Sophia entered with David at her side, 12 faces turned toward her, some friendly, some neutral, some openly hostile. Her father sat at the head of the table, his expression carefully blank. Marcus had already arrived, seated to his right with a confident smile. Victoria was there too, ostensibly as CFO presenting the quarterly reports. James lounged in his chair with barely concealed smugness. "Sophia," her father said formally, "we're pleased you could join us." "Wouldn't miss it," she replied, taking her seat directly across from Marcus. "After all, it's not every day we discuss the future of the company." "Indeed," James said, leaning forward, "which is why I've called this meeting. We need to discuss some structural changes." Here it came, the coup they'd planned so carefully. "Structural changes," Sophia's father frowned. "This wasn't on the agenda." "It should have been," James interrupted. "With all due respect, Uncle Richard, the company is at a critical juncture. The merger with Sterling Corp opens new opportunities, but it also requires new leadership, younger, more aggressive leadership." "Are you questioning my leadership?" Richard's voice went dangerously quiet. "Not yours," James said smoothly, "but we need to think about succession, about who's really qualified to run this company." Victoria stood, tablet in hand. "If I may," she said, projecting a chart onto the screen, "I've prepared an analysis of our performance over the last 3 years. Under the current leadership structure, with Sophia as CEO in waiting, we've seen declining growth, missed opportunities, and what I can only call dangerously naive business decisions." Sophia watched her former best friend systematically dismantle her reputation, pointing to projects Sophia had championed, ethical sourcing initiatives, employee profit-sharing programs, investments in sustainable technology. Victoria presented each one as evidence of weakness, of sentiment overruling sound business judgment. "The market demands ruthlessness," Victoria concluded, "and I'm afraid Sophia, for all her other qualities, simply isn't ruthless enough." The irony was almost funny. "So what are you proposing?" asked Michael Zhang, one of the older board members who'd been loyal to the Chen family for decades. James smiled. "A new leadership structure. Richard remains as chairman, but we create a new CEO position, someone with the vision and the steel to take us into the next era." "Let me guess," Sophia said quietly, "you're nominating Marcus." "He's the obvious choice," James said. "Harvard MBA, proven track record at Sterling Corp, and now, through marriage, part of the Chen family." "Except Sterling Corp is bankrupt," Sophia said. The room went absolutely silent. Marcus' confident smile froze. "I'm sorry, what?" Sophia stood, and David handed her the tablet. "Sterling Corp is drowning in debt, has been for 2 years. The only thing keeping it afloat is creative accounting and embezzled funds hidden in shell companies in the Cayman Islands." She began displaying the evidence on the screen, methodically replacing Victoria's charts with bank statements and transaction records. "This is ridiculous," Marcus said, his voice sharp. "Where are you getting this information?" "Public records," David interjected smoothly. "Financial filings, banking documents obtained through perfectly legal discovery processes." "Would you like to dispute any of these specific transactions, Mr. Sterling?" Marcus' face had gone pale. Around the table, board members leaned forward, studying the evidence with growing alarm. "Even if this is true," Victoria said, her voice tight, "it doesn't change the fact that Sophia's leadership has been profitable." Sophia cut her off. "Because I have some interesting numbers too, Victoria, like how every single one of those failed initiatives you just criticized actually increased our revenue. The ethical sourcing program opened up partnerships with 3 Fortune 500 companies who require supplier sustainability, employee profit sharing, reduced turnover by 40%, saving millions in recruitment and training costs. Sustainable technology investments. We now own patents that are licensing for 8 figures annually." She pulled up her own presentation, one she'd prepared meticulously over the past week, reconstructing all the data Victoria had twisted to tell a different story. "The only declining numbers in this company," Sophia continued, "are in the CFO's department." "Which is interesting, isn't it, Victoria? Because while you've been criticizing my decisions, there have been some unusual fund transfers from Chen Industries accounts. Small amounts, easy to miss, but they add up." Victoria's face drained of color. "I don't know what you're implying." I'm not implying anything. I'm stating facts. Over the past 18 months, you've been siphoning money from operational accounts and transferring them to offshore holdings. The same offshore holdings, coincidentally, that Marcus controls. David projected another set of documents, email chains between Victoria and Marcus, discussing the transfers, plans to drain the company slowly, to make it look like mismanagement under Sophia's leadership, to justify the coup. This is fabricated, James said, standing abruptly. This is a witch hunt. Is it? Sophia turned to him. Then perhaps you can explain why you've been receiving monthly payments from those same offshore accounts. $50,000 a month, every month, for the past year. Payment for what, exactly, cousin? James' mouth opened and closed like a fish. Around the table, the other board members were looking at the three conspirators with expressions ranging from shock to disgust. You must understand, Marcus said, his charm back in full force, this is all a misunderstanding. Sophia, darling, I think the stress of the wedding and the new responsibilities. Don't, Sophia said coldly, don't you dare gaslight me in front of this board. She turned to address the room at large. These three have been planning to take over this company for over a year. The plan was simple: marry me, kill me on our honeymoon, and make it look like an accident, and then use their positions on the board to seize control while everyone was grieving. Marcus would play the devastated widower, inherit my shares through our marriage, and become CEO. Victoria would continue managing the finances, funneling money to their offshore accounts. James would provide family legitimacy to the takeover. That's insane, Victoria said, but her voice shook. Why would we need to kill you? This is paranoid. Is it? Sophia pulled out her phone and played an audio recording. Victoria's voice came through clearly. The honeymoon is perfect, isolated, far from witnesses. A balcony accident, too much champagne, and it's done. Then Marcus, she trusts me completely. She won't suspect a thing. And finally James, just make sure there are no loose ends. We can't have another situation like. Sophia stopped the recording. Should I play more? I have hours of conversations, planning my murder, discussing how to divide my inheritance, debating the best way to stage my death. The room erupted. Board members shouting, Richard Chen on his feet, his face thunderous. Michael Zhang was already on his phone, presumably calling security. Marcus lunged toward Sophia, rage twisting his handsome features into something ugly. You bitch. But David stepped between them, and suddenly Richard was there too, his hand on Marcus' chest, pushing him back. How? Marcus demanded, staring at Sophia like she was a ghost. How did you know? Sophia smiled, cold and sharp. Let's just say I'm very good at reading people, and you're not as clever as you think. That wasn't the truth. The truth was impossible, unbelievable. But it was enough. Security arrived, 3 large men in dark suits. Michael Zhang had already called the police. Attempted fraud, conspiracy to commit murder, embezzlement, he was saying into the phone. Yes, we have evidence, extensive evidence. As security escorted Marcus, Victoria, and James from the room, Victoria turned back to Sophia with pure hatred in her eyes. You've ruined everything, she hissed. No, Sophia said quietly. You did that when you decided I was disposable. The door closed behind them, and the remaining board members sat in stunned silence. Finally, Richard spoke. How long have you known? Long enough, Sophia said. I'm sorry I didn't come to you sooner. I needed to be sure. I needed proof that would stand up in court. Her father crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. I'm sorry, he whispered. I should have stopped the wedding. I should have trusted my instincts. It's not your fault, Sophia said, and meant it. Michael Zhang cleared his throat. Well, he said, I think we can safely say the proposed leadership change is off the table. All in favor of maintaining current succession plans with Sophia as CEO in waiting. The vote was unanimous. As the meeting adjourned and board members filed out, still whispering among themselves, David approached Sophia with something like awe in his eyes. That was masterful, he said. How did you know they'd recorded themselves? That was the key piece. Without those audio files, they could have disputed everything else. Sophia thought about her previous life, about dying on that hotel room floor, about the arrogant way they discussed their plans right in front of her as she bled out. They'd been so sure she was already dead, they hadn't bothered to be careful. People get sloppy when they think they've already won, she said simply. She looked out the floor-to-ceiling windows at the Shanghai skyline, at the city spreading out beneath her like a kingdom. In another life, she'd lost all of this. Her company, her family, her future. She'd died betrayed and alone, her dreams buried with her body. But not this time. This time, she'd won. And she was just getting started.